I should have made a full bucket full of coffee instead of just a glass.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, should we begin?
Wait for me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we are live.
All right. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome all of you to our first session of Let's Talk Photography, this web series. First of all, thanks to the panel and thanks to oneglint, Ravi and Krishna for this wonderful initiative in this uncertain times. We all need a little bit of photography, and on the panel we have Prithvi Chowdhury, Sandeep Kumar, and Chandrasekhar Singh. And I welcome all of you to the panel. So, just to give a little brief about our panelists, I'll talk about Prithvi first, and it's Prithvi thinks it's photography is all about how he sees the world around him, and he really enjoys traveling around the incredible country of India, and he enjoys the life stories that happen all around him. And although he's the chief photography officer of Pixie.com by profession and photographer by passion, he says that he's a traveler by choice. All right, welcome, Prithvi. And Sandeep, he spent a lot of time in the IT industry, and he moved to photography. He calls it that was his calling, and he's a true traveler and loves to capture his travels from his lens. He really enjoys portraits, and I have had the pleasure of traveling with him on many travels all around India, and he's currently managing a lot of calendar shoots, and he's always thinking about new styles. And he's been a creative counterpart of Sunburst. He's also a Sony influencer for fashion and lifestyle, and he's a pro photo mentor. So he's a lot. Welcome,
Thank
Sandeep.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And finally, not least at all, and I don't know where to begin and where to end with this man's introduction. So he's Chandrasekhar Singh, self-taught photographer. He's been shooting for over 30 years now, and he started his career as a press photographer at the age of 18 and switched to shooting weddings from the age 20, and till date he has crossed shooting more than 600 weddings, mostly single-handedly. And currently his interests have taken a slightly new turn, and now he loves to document livelihood stories that he finds a lot of inspiration in, stories that he's concerned with, and basically wherever there is human element that can create social impact. So welcome, Chandrasekhar Singh.
Thank you.
All right, and about a little about myself, I'm Santosh Kortiwada. I'm based out of Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada right now. I've been photographing for probably 20 years now. Not as continuously as Shekar and Sandeep and probably Prithvi, but every now and then I do a little bit here and there. I also write, make stories, and I love talking about photography, thinking photography, and writing photography. All right, let's open the conversation. And again, thanks a lot for all the viewers, all the listeners, everyone who's watching and listening to the live streams on YouTube and Facebook. And every time, anytime you have a question, you can ping there, and our Ravi is administering the activity. And if there is any question, he can share it with us. Okay, so first, I really want to understand our relationship with photography. Each of us think differently about photography, and our relationship with photography is different. And considering the topic of transitioning into photography, I think it's important for us to briefly explain about what, what is our relationship with photography. And I would like to start with Prithvi.
Yeah. So I mean, it was never in my mind as well that I would get into photography any day, because I was one of the most guys coming out of South India, or especially from Andhra, being an engineering student and getting into my MBA and all of it. But it all started during my MBA days, and I mean, I just started it as a hobby, and it all happened out of blue one day when my lecturer came to me and gave me a camera to capture the orientation session which was happening.
Hmm.
So just to impress her, I took the camera into my hand for the first time, just to get that impression with that lecturer.
Hmm.
But I slowly started seeking interest in that. I mean, the photos turned out to be really good. I mean, though I was clicking in auto mode at that time, it turned as a surprise for me. So it all started at that point, and though I never thought like I would get into this, but I started nurturing that, being patient, thinking that over some point of time or some years, right, I'll get on with the journey. I was not taking it very seriously in the beginning because I didn't go to a photography school. I went to an MBA college. So it was more of like a reverse learning process for me in the beginning. But the interest carried on with me, along with me. Though whenever I was even working with IT industry, the interest carried with me for forever till date. That's how I got into this, and for me, it was more of like travel as well as photography, because travel had been one of my very major passion as well. I mean, I wanted to travel, and this complemented actually to the travel what I wanted to do. So
Okay.
it's more because of photography, I never started doing traveling, but it's more of liking towards traveling, which got complemented with my photography, what I had been learning. So
Right.
that's been my thing with photography.
So you're into full-time photography now, if I
Yeah,
understanding it right?
so yeah, I'm into full-time photography now. So I wanted the transition also to happen slowly. I mean, I was betting on my patience levels, to be frank, because I know that when you want to make your mark over a period of time, it doesn't happen in 6 months, 1 year, or something. And luckily, we have this Pixie stock photo company coming up in India at that time, which wanted to help storytelling photographers.
Mm-hmm.
All we get to see is general specific photographers, but there's no native Indian stock photo company which wants to serve to the Indian clients regarding the with the help of the storytelling pictures,
Mm-hmm.
which keeps happening all across the world. You take Getty, you take anyone, right? I mean, they do that, but we don't have a native Indian stock photo company. So I thought like, okay, now I had been making some travel images. So what is my thing of giving back to the photographers community? Then I thought this is a very good opportunity for me to get into that, so that I can complement my photography journey as well with my profession. That's how
All
I
right.
transferred my interest into my profession now, so that even I am learning from a lot of photographers who are making very good storytelling images out there,
Mm-hmm.
because that was never my knowledge about photography. So I started looking out at a lot of works today. I mean, because there are more than 6, 7,000 photographers on Pixie. Every day we get to see thousands of pictures. So every day by seeing those pictures, right? I mean, we everyone at Pixie, we keep learning all the styles, how they are planning, how they are shooting, what are the things that they are considering into when they are going onto the field. For example, now with this pandemic, right? We get to see a lot of amazing and exciting stuff, though we are stuck up at home on in these tough times.
All right.
So that's an interesting journey which I embarked on, and yeah,
Yeah, it's quite fascinating. So it basically you're interested in, just to paraphrase, you're interested in, always interested in travel. You picked up the camera accidentally, and eventually you found interest in it. And then I'm happy to, I'm sure the viewers are happy to know that everything, all your interests are aligned, and then you finally found
yeah,
something that you can utilize your skills in. So thanks for sharing that. And how
yeah,
about
yeah.
Sandeep? How is your relationship with photography?
Uh, uh, it was on and off. Currently, it's completely on all the time, 24/7.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, as Santu told in the introduction, yes, I was, as every other South Indian guy, was supposed to do engineering, and yeah, I was working in Hyderabad. I mean, that's why my photography started. It just started because I wanted to kill time during the weekends. And I mean that process. I met Shekar, I met Kishore, I met Santu, and others across. But initial days it was just like a hobby of doing a street and walk around and make some street and random landscape images. I think 2013 is when I decided to quit the job, and I was thinking, what next, what next? And I remember, I think 2013 is when we went. I think that's when we went to Kumbh Mela. Yeah, it
Right.
was me, him, and that's when the first journey towards, I think, that started. And I made some kind of portraits there, which isn't much interesting though, if I look back right now. But yes, that is where it started. Like I wanted to do something on travel first. I mean, like Prithvi, when I was like bug, kind of bitten with the travel bug. So did that, and there's another friend of ours called Petu. So he used to run a wedding company out of Mumbai. So he's basically from Hyderabad but moved to Mumbai. So I kind of teamed up with him and shot few weddings here and there. And then 2015 is when I moved back to Bangalore. And then 2015 onwards, I started shooting a lot of. I wanted to, my interest was more into people and portraits. So that's how it started. And currently, I'm shooting a lot of fashion and lifestyle, and that's what I do. Yes, I mean that's one thing which kind of keeps me interesting, and yeah, it's right now it's going on. So that's a small short introduction of me. So yeah.
All right, thanks for that. So your story is different from Prudvi's, and like anyone else is on this panel right
Hmm.
now. So again, you started with just like a hobby with random pictures, and you wanted to pick up something. So you did some street, and combined it with travel, and eventually, I think you tried a lot of different genres, and then finally. Found your passion in fashion photography and beauty photography, and now you're making a big name for yourself, and doing a lot of good work, so which is good. So again, for the viewers, it's very important to see that there is no one particular way or one particular route to get into photography. Everyone got in different ways, and I'm sure Shekhar now has a completely different story to tell.
Yeah, hi Santu.
Hi.
It's a great opportunity to share on this platform. My relationship or my bond with photography is something I can say it has just a blood relationship. I can say I can't define, but during my initial days, maybe I remember in '86, I thought of doing my graduation from JNTU, and I thought of getting an admission, but I didn't get it. And remember, from that day onwards till today, there is not a single day or single week that I have not shot or I was not away from photography. And few incidents, I would say two, three incidents which I always remember, which really made me to dive into this field. I was there in an Independence Day parade at Secunderabad. That that day was I remember that day we are given a special dress for the parade, and incidentally there is not a single image to show that I was there in that parade. Somehow the photographers were stopped at a distant place due to security reasons, and sadly within minutes after the parade I had to take off my dress. So that day I came home and I literally cried for the entire night. So that day I felt the value of images. Slowly, my first assignment or first time when I have my teacher, I'd say Mr. Sati Prabhu. Initially, he used to take some brief sessions, but over the years, he said self learning is always the best way. Unlike the way today we have all the Google or all available systems. Yeah, I shot a wedding. That was my first wedding. When I realized, when I shared the images, the bride and the groom, they literally cried and fell on my feet. That day I felt, the day I had that feeling of not getting an image, the same feeling when they have an image really captured, that is a happiness. That is an incident which always kept me going, and every time when I shoot pictures, it reaches them, reaches the people, reaches their heart. That always kept me going. So that's it. It was always a sailing for me. Apart from all my regular activities, I had to somehow keep it going. Over the period, I've shifted to different genres, and these days I enjoy shooting stories and documenting people, documenting rural lifestyles a lot.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Shekar. It's always inspiring to hear it from you. So again, Prithvi, for him, everything got aligned, and one thing led to another thing, and then he's doing what he always wanted to do. For Sandeep, he found his way. He found what he interests him, and then he slowly could become a master and an expert in a specific genre and specific interest. And for Shekar, the calling was much before, and then he found the value of photography first, and then he took it on, the skill, and he trained himself, and he just went with what his heart said. So everyone had this different experience in the beginning with photography and how they have transitioned. And Shekar, correct me if I'm wrong, you always had a full-time job, but then pursued
Yes.
your interest in photography, right? So you have never quit
Yes.
your job.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And Sandeep quit his job to get into photography, and for Prithvi, I believe his job became photography, right?
I had to quit
Yeah,
my
it's
job
kind
as
of
well.
a different.
Yeah. I worked for 6 long years in IT. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, 6 long years is not very long in my case, because I was there for 13 years in
Okay.
IT. But then in my case, it's completely different. I'm sure a little bit Sandeep and Shekar are very aware of my story.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, I think it was a hobby, and then mixed with travel. I think one of the common things we have noticed here is our interest in travel, and then photography kind of complemented it really well. Or maybe we are too lazy to paint and draw, and that's why we picked up the camera, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean, sorry to say, Santu, I was about to say the same thing because most of the photographers whom I've known are some kind of an artist. So when someone asked me like sometime back, like what made you do this, I said I was too lazy to pick up a paintbrush and paint. So I think it's easy to click rather than to paint. So that's
yeah,
how it's gone.
absolutely. I think photography and other art forms, they go hand in hand. It's just
Yes.
a matter of our vision, and photography for me was always a vehicle. I was never happy with what was around me, and I knew that I had a creative urge, and I
Mm-hmm.
somehow wanted to find my own voice, and photography was my way to
Okay.
travel from one point to the other, and then do explore the world around me through that lens. So thankfully, we are all still safe and healthy, and still continuing our passion with photography.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So now that we shared our relationship with photography, one of the things we really need to understand that it is not always very, it's the life after you take up photography is not always with bells and whistles and sparkles and firecrackers. There is always ups and downs. So what I really wanted to know is, once you took photography as your passion and career, or whatnot, how did it impact you personally? How did it impact your family? And how did it impact your relationship with the broader community?
Mm-hmm.
Prithvi?
Yeah. So for me to start with, I think it was a very conscious effort which I had kept in, because the transformation, as I said, didn't happen over a period of 3 months or 6 months or something, but it happened over years. So what I was very keen on is to start building my portfolio, because see, anyone, we can say that I'm a photographer and I'm interested in photography, but it definitely takes some time for the outer society or the family or your friends even to believe in your interests and trust you, seeing that okay, why can't this guy get into this full time? So instead of me convincing them, it's more of my hard work which I had kept in making my images, and I started participating in a lot of other events, so that whatever I was winning or whatever validations I was getting from the industry, right, they were actually being more of that validation point to my family or someone who were looking at it. So even before I started convincing them, it's more of they were already convinced that okay, this guy can do good in that. And till very recent times, my father has this feeling of like, okay, why do you have to waste so much time editing a picture? He still keeps saying that. Why do you have to
Yeah.
invest half an hour or 45 minutes? Why don't you just go through a course, an IT course, so that I mean, it would be better for you in the future. I mean,
Yeah.
if anything wrong happens. But I keep saying him, see, this is a kind of practice as well. What we have to do. I mean, now with a lot of other options which are coming up in photography as well, and with a lot of resources that are there around, it's only gonna be our problem if we don't nurture ourselves on a daily basis, which I strongly believe in. And convincing them was never such a very big difficult thing if you take it in a slow-paced manner by building your portfolio any day. And for example, for someone to even believe in you, right? For your friend to believe in you, or for your friend to compliment saying that your photo is a good photo, it doesn't happen over in the first week or in the first month. You should
Mhm.
start improving your work, and only then, even your best friend says, okay, you actually clicked a good shot now.
I would
Because,
like I would like you to hold on to the thought, because we are going to talk about that as well. Is
yeah,
one of the aspects we are going to discuss is what's the
sure,
role of this feedback and other things.
sure.
So now over to Sandeep. How did photography impact your relationships? That entire factor. Sandeep, I believe you're on mute.
Oh, yeah, happens. Technology sometimes overtakes us. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, I was on mute. Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky question. Thank you. But yes, it took a toll on me a bit, personally as well as professionally. But I mean, that's a way of life, and you have to learn from all your fall downs. And I strongly believe whatever happens happens for a betterment of you, just to give a better of yourself. And luckily, photography was there around for me to kind of hold my hand to just pull it out of whatever I was going through at my tough times. And Yes, it was very hard to convince at home, saying that being an engineer and then came back saying that I don't want to. I mean, initially, the first 1 year after I quit my job, I did not work. I was traveling. So after that, one fine day, my dad asked, "What are you going to do next?" I said, "I'm going to do photography," and he said, "Like wedding photography," because I was doing wedding by then. And then they asked, "Wedding photography, so you want to go to Pellilu and keep capturing every other people?" I said, "Yes." And I was like, yeah, I enjoyed doing it, so no regrets on it. So it was hard to convince my dad. My mom was, I mean, as usual, every mom is a supportive person. So she said, let him do what he wants to do. And until last year, he didn't know that I was shooting fashion. He
Huh.
thought I was still shooting weddings.
Yeah, you should
So
invite him to your Instagram. Yeah.
I was coming there. So what happens is one of my Baba kind of joined into Facebook, and every now and then I keep updating Facebook. And then he came home and said, "Hey, nice pictures." I said, "Hope he's not looking into everything." Because there is kind of beauty and there is kind of fashion. So I don't know how people, especially in family, would take this. But
Right.
one family event, he told Anaya, your son takes really good pictures and he's good, and he showed them pictures. And my dad says, "I thought you were shooting weddings." I said, "Yeah, I used to." How I'm to do is, and then luckily, the thing here is, while doing all this, what I'm trying to tell you is like every genre which I shot right during that period of me moving out of IT and doing it helped me get a work from every corner. So what happened here is, eventually, I had to, I got to work with Karnataka Tourism Department and the Wildlife Department. So that kind of gave me a leverage across. And when my dad asked, "What are you shooting?" Then I had some other things to show him, saying, "Under fashion, I'm trying to do this." So he was a bit convincing. Okay, okay, this is not doing anything which is not a gray area, but he's doing quite good for himself. And yes, currently, the moment he came to know that I'm also associated with Sony and Profoto as their ambassadors and stuff, he was pretty much happy. And now it's all chill, so it's okay. That's all.
All
It's all
right.
nice. But yes, yeah.
And
Again, to end it up, it's like parents always look, where are you working? And the moment he heard the Sony and the Profoto as a brand name, he said, okay, my son is somewhere doing legitimate stuff, so it's fine.
yeah, it's always we are not alone in this journey, right? There is always our in the context of family, the context of community, etc. And how about you, Shekhar? How did it impact your journey?
Photography has really contributed a lot in my journey, especially see I had very good support at home, parents and family. So that is an added courage, added power you have when you are pursuing your passion. So that was always there with me, and over the years, it was of studying people. Like the more I was working, the more I was shooting, you get to know people a lot. In the very first take, over a period of time, you develop a skill of what exactly they are undergoing, the pain, the happiness. So it becomes very easy, whether it is it's a layman, or it's a father and a daughter, it's a husband and wife, whatever the relationship. It's all about reading people's heart and mind. So this was a skill which I developed over the years, and I also enjoyed. See, not only this, I was involved in a few groups online, so I also enjoyed a lot in mentoring few young people. So this was all with the experience which I gained over the years. A boy who was just 17, 18 year old, we can easily visualize his mindset, his skill sets. So there are few handful of people, handful of professionals today who have been identified at a very early age. So these are all the skills which I gained due to my skills. Then in turn, it was a livelihood, it was a future for them, and they are doing very good. So the happiness of showing something great to the beginners is also a big achievement for me personally. That is
Did
a
did photography ever um, put you in some sort of trouble? Prithvi, I'll get back to you.
Can you be little more clear? Trouble in what kind of trouble?
In family, like you're so involved with photography and your work and all that. Did you ever get into trouble?
No, Never.
Okay,
Because it's all about your skill, how you balance it. See,
I think
there are moments when I decided in 24 hours of going to an event. I'd been to Bangladesh, I'd been to Dhaka, just to witness something related to photography. I wanted to witness, I want to see that. So it was all about a balance at home, getting the right permissions, getting them understand what you want.
I think the next panel discussion, I'm going to invite Mrs. Shekar, and then we will see, we'll hear her perspective too. All right, Prithvi, you were saying something.
No, I mean, to be precise, I mean, to what Chandrasekhar Singh sir was saying, I mean, I was one of the beginners whom he encouraged a lot when I was a part of Photo Walkers or the Hyderabad Weekend Show Photo Walkers group. And I myself is an example of what he was encouraging all through the period. So it all started for me, or I started learning photography. I mean, by being a part of that organization. I mean, I was part of the photo weekend walks, what they were doing. I was learning by feeling inspired with the man who is running the show for a lot of photographers for no profit again in Hyderabad. I mean, so I can proudly say that I was one of those who developed this art form from that point, and I always feel like I owe them a lot. I mean, to the Hyderabad weekend shoots, especially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's so true. I was also a part of that, and even for me, without my wife's support, I would have never ever would have dreamt of leaving them in India and pursuing my higher education somewhere very far. Um, and that too, it was not like it's 3 months, 4 months, but it was for almost 4 years, and that took a big toll on the way our relationship was. And I missed a lot of my son is 11 years old, and probably I missed about 3 years of him growing up, right? So there is always when we are pursuing something like this, there are consequences of it. But photography taught us so many different things, and I'm more than happy and thankful to photography now. And because of photography, we are much stronger as a group, much stronger as a family. So fantastic. Now, one of the vital questions I'm sure a lot of students and amateurs and everyone asks us, during our journeys whenever we meet, is to quit or not to quit. Should I quit my job, or should I quit my study, or should I quit whatever I'm doing right now and get into photography, because photography is driving me nuts and I'm so interested in photography. So what do you think, Shekar? Should we quit or not quit?
I think this question itself can be discussed at a very detailed way, because quitting. So I'll just go in my own few little words. Quitting, before quitting something, I would say photography itself is one such field wherein you have professionals or people who are doing from varied backgrounds, doctors, engineers, software professionals. And when you pick a random lot of 10 people, out of them nine have a background of different professions.
Mhm,
So these days, what we find is this: there is little bit of justice being done because they have a different perspective.
mhm,
Their background, their experience. A doctor has a different approach. So
mhm,
a scientist has a different approach. Now the results you are witnessing is all because of the varied background of people who are involved in this. So so now let me put it in another way. Many people keep asking, see, I'm interested to do a lot in photography and I want to pursue, and I want to quit my job. I want to quit my job. So
mhm,
what I feel is, it's not about quitting something. It is to decide what is that one thing which you want to make it, either money, name, or fame. You all see, when compared to some few decades ago, we didn't have a formal education except one university which was imparting photography course on a full-time basis. Even today they are doing it, but today you have something on your hand, Google. You have many schools. We have many mentors. Now, when compared to the previous generation and now, there's a lot of difference. Something which was done on a basic level, like every basics have been taught during a 3 years course, but now that is not done. It is all about the person who's having the money or who is capable to procure certain high-end expensive equipment. And I find there are many people, professionals, a doctor who owns priceless equipment and who enjoys shooting it. But when it comes to the real, I would say, education, it has to be done from a systematic way. And then when coming to quitting a job, it is always something kind of dissatisfaction with the present work. See, you can't imagine a software engineer taking a total U-turn and coming into photography. That has to be taken in many angles, like the age, the background, the interest, financial condition. See, somebody who has worked for 15 years or 20 years in a software company, quitting a job overnight and shifting into this field, how far it is justified? Whether it is
Yeah.
for livelihood, whether it's for a livelihood, it is for a satisfaction or an income generation.
Yeah,
If
you
and
you,
one,
you
one,
bring up
one
a
last point is, it is all about that inner feeling, irrespective of anything. If somebody has a confidence that yes, he can do certain justice to this field, irrespective of age, background, nothing, they can definitely come in. They can do wonders.
right, absolutely. So you're basically saying it's not an easy decision
Yeah.
to take. You have to consider your own circumstance, your own interest
Yes.
and passion, because there is absolutely no formula for it,
Yeah.
right? So you have to analyze your own situation
Yes.
and then take that decision with full conviction. That's what you're
Yes.
suggesting.
Yes.
How about you, Prudvi? What do you say about that?
For me, I feel the beauty lies in balancing both the professions, because that's how my personal experience was seen. Because all through the line, right, I was trying to balance both my profession as well as my photography thing. When someone used to ask me as well, I mean, they used to suggest me a lot. I mean, people used to tell me, why don't you quit your
Audio,
Oh, it's on mute, Prudvi.
Prithvi. No.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Go ahead.
better now. Yeah.
Yeah. But people don't understand the fact that what is the financial status of yours as said by Chandra Singh, or they don't get your background, or they don't get to know what struggle that you're having on your daily life. So I would rather say the beauty lies in balancing both the professions, and till you find that one point which urges you to do it, right? Not that interest isn't enough for you to quit your job and get into something. It should be definitely more than that interest or only that passion beyond it. I always say this line as well. I mean, there's a famous saying. It says, "Go with your heart."
Yeah.
But I always tell them it's always good to follow your heart, but it's always good to have common sense as well in our mind. So we do have to take decisions with both these things. We do have to understand the backgrounds with which we come from, the struggle that we had done to get into that IT first job. I mean, getting into IT job was the first exciting thing for many individuals out there. So do think when you want to quit your jobs, when you want to quit into a different industry, when you want to get into it, do think that if you can balance it out for quite some time. And for example, for me, I took a decision only when I get to see that I had to cater more than 60-70% of my time to photography, and it is yielding me more. than my IT job. So I made a conscious decision only when my when my paycheck is better than IT job. Second thing being I was experienced enough to handle it whatever I am supposed to take up in photography, and also see that if I'm going into a niche where I end up not being workless again after I get into it.
Mhm.
So I have been extremely cautiously looking at the opportunities, because I personally didn't want to end up into a situation where there is lot of threat in terms of
All right.
talent out there,
Yeah.
be it wedding photography or be it something. So that's a conscious effort again, which every one of them have to put, because a lot
Yeah.
of people are doing wildlife photography. But if you ask them how many of you had been in the mentor phase, or how many of them are doing really good other than just mentoring, are very few.
Mhm.
So you have to take examples and lessons from all these people. I mean, how did they become successful in running a business, or running behind their passion or profession? So that's something which I feel. I mean, you have to balance it out till you get it sorted. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what you're saying is you have to be completely fully conscious, not just conscious, but you also have to calculate, be calculative in the risks,
Exactly.
in what you're investing and what's the return of investment. Be very calculative. Have some goals in mind and then pursue it.
Yes.
So take those decisions. You're saying. How about you, Sandeep? What do you say?
Well, to sum it up, the whole thing, what everyone is saying is what I would be saying, but I would rather put it in this way. It's more like a commitment to what you're doing. So it's, for instance, your hobby or your passion, what you're trying to do while you're working elsewhere or studying, and want to take photography or any other profession as full time. You need to have the commitment towards that particular stream which you want to get into. It's like you committing to your girlfriend. So the hobby. Photography as a hobby is just like a girlfriend. You can just meet her over the weekend and then still have the fun and enjoy the entire process. But imagine getting married to her. So you got to be prepared for it. First thing is that, and second thing is you got to live with her 24/7. Second thing is you need to feed her. You need to feed her. And on a lighter note, yes, you need to feed her. You need to have your bank balance. So today, not everything is green and nice and fairy everywhere. But the first thing is how committed are you to what you want to do? So irrespective of what you're doing currently, if you plan to travel, do a completely on travel, I mean, I would say please go do a travel thing. But just ensure that if you have an immediate family which is dependent on you, you got to take care of that because that's your responsibility along with what you're currently doing. Because you can't kill your passion at the same time, you can't kill the trust of the people who are there along with you. So my recommendation would be, or my suggestion with people who generally come and ask me, shall I quit my job? I'm getting bored here. And things. I would say, if you are able to manage yourself for 2 years without even kind of trying to take a loan or using your credit card, go ahead and then explore that particular field if you have made enough money. If not, please don't. And if you're fresh from college and if you want to try something, I think that's another best way of doing it. Just check with your family if they can, if they can support you for a couple of years, because today nothing comes instant. In the Instagram generation, we think everything is fine and we can just click few pictures and the moment someone likes you, you become famous. No, end of the day there are bills to pay. So think about that way. And I would obviously think, I mean, that's what I mean. Overall, I want to sum it up is like just ensure that you have enough financial background, because if that kind of keeps shrinking, it kind of harms you in the way you think also. Today, we are directly linked with the money, whatever is there in our bank account. If that shrinks, your creativity shrinks. So that's directly proportional. So think about it, guys. So that's the only thing that I want to say there. Economics matters, correctly,
Absolutely.
sir.
Yeah. Economics matters. And you know what, I am the your example is sitting right in front of you,
Oh, that
because
wasn't for you. Yeah.
no, in my case it's a because I went with my heart, and fortunately family supported my decision, and we literally spent everything on higher education, and absolutely no regrets, because that's what I had in my mind. I never looked at photography as a earning source. I never wanted to earn from photography. It was something that I wanted to pursue, because of out of interest, out of passion, and I knew that someday I would be in a position to give it back to the society, to the family, to everyone that has helped me on the way, and do something to give back to the photographic community. So we all have taken different approaches, and again, just to sum it up, there is no one else can give you that answer to quit or not to quit. You cannot look at someone and then make that decision. You have to think it for yourself, right? It is, you are accountable, you are responsible, so you have to think it through and then take the decision and stand on it and be comfortable with it, whatever it may be. And God help, you have got to have support from family and friends to move on. All right. We are almost ending our discussion. So one of the things that came up during our talk is, what is the impact of learning, training, getting feedback, and getting screamed at, and getting those critiques? How did it help seeking this feedback and updating yourself? How did it help your career, Sandeep? You're on
Sorry,
mute.
I was on mute. See, I would say like they are your best friends. I think more than best friends, because they give you the reality check. The first thing is like they just literally tell you if it's something's bad, it's bad. So you need to learn from them. And the best thing I would say is, don't look for a critic outside, look for yourself. I would say compete with yourself, because today in the generation we are always like looking into someone else's life, whether it's on social media or anywhere. We think, okay, this guy clicked this picture, I want to take a better picture than them. No, you need to take a better picture than what you did in the last picture of yours. So that's what I would say. Take the critic as positive, because they teach you a lot when it comes to how you need to upskill yourself. At the same time, you need to be challenging only yourself, not anyone else on the earth, because it doesn't matter. You did not take up this passion or profession because you saw someone else taking it. You liked it because you did it. So that's the way I would say, like, please compete with yourself and try to make a better image of what you did the last night. So that makes you a better and improve your skills. And yes, there are many ways of improving the skills. There are many online courses available. So all those things are there. But the only thing I want to say is, like, respect your critics, love them a lot, because they will be genuine all the time. And at the same time, your image should be the answer to the critics, to just to shut their mouth and then say, yes, he's gone. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. What do you think, Shekar?
Yeah, thoroughly agree with Sandeep. Thoroughly, it's all about competing with yourself, because every time you keep on shooting, it's only your own benchmark, and what is that extra thing which you have done it. And just I suggest it's all about feeling that for the first time when you shoot an image, the very first feel has to be there in every day, every morning, every time you pick up your equipment, and you should feel that new thing, new quality which you have achieved. That should be able to, you have to see that. And more than anything, your people, your clientele, or your subjects are the best judges, because they'll give you the feedback, the way you have shot them, the way you have seen them, and the way you have presented them. So nothing can beat their feedback. So irrespective of the feedback from outside, it's about your subject which gives you the feedback. I take it.
In my case, it may not be possible, Shekar, because I'm shooting stones and rocks and things that cannot talk back. But I do understand what you're saying.
But still, for you, it is a artist.
Yeah.
It's a critics from the big artists, or anybody in that line. I'll take it in a very positive way, and it's a learning for the next time. Every time I shoot.
Absolutely. How about you, Prithvi? What's your take on it?
I would say, I mean, we have to take it constructively for sure. And I think there is a slight line or difference over here. I mean, when you look at beginners or amateurs, right, a lot of them, even the professionals out there, I mean, to get validated by someone, I mean, without knowing the conditions in which you are shooting or with the equipment what you have, we start feeling that okay, it's easy for someone to make a comment on your work with what you had made. But I would rather say, or how I had overcome that is, I used to go back to my editing table once in a while again with the same photo after I had learned a new technique or new way of editing or new way of compositing. So I used to go back to the editing table and redo the work and keep a check for myself. Though I wouldn't agree it for people's sake outside it is not needed to prove it to them, saying that okay, I had improved my work. Now come back and see this. Instead, the improvement is much needed for me within inside, so that I start improving on my work. So I used to go back to the editing table once in a while, once in every 2 months or 3 months or sometime, and used to do that. And one thing I used to follow for sure is whatever feedback I used to improve on, it isn't just for that next photo which I have to prove to the audience out there, or it's not for 1 month or so. I used to indefinitely put that in practice from my next work till date. So that is,
Absolutely.
yeah, that is even more important. And more importantly, you have also have to look at the feedbacks you are getting from. I mean, who is giving your feedback? And because everyone will say, even someone who hadn't clicked also will give a feedback on your picture. But it again lies in you to take whose feedback you should be taking, on which
Yeah.
points you should be improving. So it
Absolutely.
is
I
again,
think it's very important, and who's giving that feedback and what to take the feedback. Otherwise, it's a vicious circle, right? We
yeah,
show it to someone, and someone gives some feedback. It's very subjective.
yeah,
It gets very technical, but when we talk about conceptual photography, it gets very subjective. So I highly recommend a lot of my students and my friends that you create this core group, which is comprised of not just photographers, but people from all different paths of life, and who can be as honest as possible about your work, right? And
Definitely.
take that feedback, work on it, and it's you work on it, and you are the best judge of your work. And I used to struggle with this, and then everyone used to say, hey, this is good and that is good, and that kind of feedback is never going to help. You have to get into constructive discussion about that. I got a feeling that Shekar wants to add
I
something.
just want to add one point. See, feedback we can take it. It's a self-learning process. Whenever you are shooting anything, I just give the small example of watching the cover images of the daily newspapers. If you happen to see the same image captured by five or ten different press photographers, you will find one image, and each image will have the same very thin difference.
Hmm.
For example, the images shot by Associated Press or Reuters or the World Press (PTI), you compare the images of those people with any other images, they'll they stand out.
Hmm.
So the learning process is always there. It's always there. Watching the same situation, as Prithvi was saying, it all depends on the situation, the how comfortably it was shot, under what conditions, under with what equipment, under what mood. Irrespective of all this, when you see the images of just everyday's newspaper or everyday India Today cover page images, that one image will teach a lot. And this
Hmm.
applies to all genres, whether it
Yeah.
is
yeah,
fashion or
yes.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Sandeep, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just wanted to kind of add up things here. It's like, yes, I mean, I do get to hear a lot when it comes to critics saying that there are positive and constructive critics, and there are someone who just wants to try to pin you down somewhere and then say like they know better than you. I mean, they are actually very good, because you know why? They keep challenging you that they can't do it. So currently, what I'm doing is some people say like, oh, he's got the bestest equipment in his hand, so he can create those images and make wonders of everything. Even if I had, I could have done this. Doesn't matter if I had a Nikon 850 and a 800 prime, I would have taken this tiger or a bird in a better way. It's not about that. It's not about equipment. It's not about the gear and things. It's all about the passion and the compassion you have to what you want to create. So because currently I'm doing is with the current situation of whatever the pandemic is around, and we all kind of locked inside our own cages. I'm doing this FaceTime series where I hardly get to use anything other than my iPhone. So I'm talking to someone, I mean, across the city or across the country. I'm trying to capture an image on an iPhone and try to edit and try to make it sure. But this process has kind of taught me a lot because initially when I started, people thought, what is this? I mean, I don't think it will be a good image and stuff. Yes, it happened. My first two, three images bombed. But once they saw a betterment of what you're doing, I think then people are kind of texting me saying that they want to shoot and let's shoot together. So this is what I'm saying. So if you can challenge yourself, irrespective of what the gear is, what the critic is, and all, and that's what I'm saying. You need to challenge yourself to make that better image of yours because
Mhm.
there are positive as well as negative feedbacks. But I would say please take a lot of, I mean, kind of absorb all the negative feedbacks because there is a positive in that also. So use that positivity and try to explore whatever you're doing. So
Yeah,
happy clicking.
you're basically saying you're the best critic of yourself, and never underestimate anyone who's ripping your work apart, because you can learn something from that too. And Prithvi,
That's
finally, to wrap it up, what do you want to say?
Yeah, so adding to Sandeep, right? See, if someone's really getting into your skin to take some, give you some feedback by pinpointing at some things, right? Feel privileged because those are your real lovers. I mean,
yeah,
they
that's what I
keep
was
telling,
saying, Prithvi. Yeah, that's what even I said.
yeah,
I love them a lot
yeah,
because they are basically kind of deconstructing my image, which will help
exactly.
me to redo the entire thing so that I can answer him back with another image.
And they are the
Absolutely.
only ones who will pinpoint the slightest of the things which all your well wishers will forgo with. I mean,
Correct. Your
so
fans,
you
of
should
course,
be
man.
thankful to
Yeah,
them because you would be shutting their mouth with your next image or with the series of images coming next. So it's a good thing, right? So we have to take
yeah,
it
yeah.
constructively.
All right. Yep. So we spoke about what's the relationship with the photography, and then how our journey with photography has impacted our life, and what do we do to keep our photographic passion going. And moreover, we spoke about whether or not to quit your existing job to pursue photography or any other art form. So I really, really appreciate these conversation, and I just wait for if we have any questions from online viewers, and then take it up. Otherwise, I think we kind of covered all the major topics that are related to transitioning into photography. So I thank you, all of you, Sandeep, Shekar, and Prithvi. Thanks for your time and
Thank you.
your passion,
Thank
and
you.
keep up your good work. And hopefully, we
Okay.
get to meet again on a different panel, and
Definitely.
then talk again. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Ravi
No
and
worries.
Krishna as well.
Yeah.
This is a good opportunity, and talk to you all later. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks a
Stay
lot.
safe.
Thank
Stay
you all.
safe.
Thank you,
Thank
Sandeep.
you.
Thank you, Prithvi.
Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you, sir.